I'm Steve Shoaf, and I am with IBM, and I am the worldwide sales database leader for the analytics brand. I'm responsible for selling Informix worldwide, and Informix is our database of choice for Internet of Things, supporting everything from gateway processors to cloud-based delivery of time series storage for information generated by sensors.
Specifically, when it comes to Internet of Things, what are the primary advantages of using Informix?
Informix has several advantages. First of which is it has a very efficient method of storing sensor information. We call it time series. It's about 5 times more efficient in storage space and equally efficient in using CPU. It also can run completely in memory in a gateway processor, maybe it's an Intel or a Raspberry Pi device. We also can deliver this through the cloud, and we can deliver this in small scale all the way up into terabyte level. We also process this information discretely as relational database, but also we can support it completely as JSON NoSQL database.
Tell me just a little bit more about this time dimension and what the advantages of your approach to it.
Thank you. Informix can store sensor information in what we call time series. It's what we've developed for smart meters and other technologies that deliver mass quantities of information over periods of time. We organize our data more efficiently in a relational database structure, and we can also organize that data in a NoSQL database using JSON technology. The reason it's so efficient is that we store multiple occurrences of sensor information by time and not necessarily by meter. It makes it much more efficient to do so. This really simplifies programming. The other thing that we can do is we can provide 100% in-memory speed reporting for analytics after the data is collected.
Can you tell me a little bit about, you mentioned gateways and the edge. Can you tell me a little bit more about how that works on the edge?
Well, we can take information directly from the sensor into an edge device, an Intel device, let's say, process it 100% autonomously, and use real-time context computing and control to make operational changes. This means if there's sensors on a factory floor or a distribution warehouse or temperature sensors in buildings, we can support programming that makes changes in how that equipment will be operating. We can also associate that with alerts to somebody who will do something about that. The interesting part about this is, in the gateway processor, we can operate immediately, but we can also use store and forward operations where if there's intermittent connections to the main database via cloud delivery or an on-premises system, we can store that for later analysis and reporting.
So those are a lot of features.
Yes.
And they sound great.
Yeah.
But when it comes to value, what is the value now? And for example, can you give me an example of where that is working for one of your customers?
Well, we have it working in several places. I think you've already heard from Josh Cooper of Hildebrand, and Hildebrand is using the Informix database in their systems that collects information from several sites. He has a footfall application as well as building application for controlling hot water in apartments. Informix is providing those services at a very low cost. It's a very low-cost database and great for startups and great for small companies just starting out in the business because it's very low cost. And we offer time series in every single one of our editions of our product.
So when you look at the whole IoT ecosystem, from the cloud to the wearable device itself, where are you living? Are you living in the wearable device? Are you living in the mobile device? Where exactly are you in the ecosystem?
We are not in the device or the sensors. We are in the gateway processors or in the cloud. So if you're collecting the data and transmitting it directly to the cloud via Wi-Fi, internet, or cellular data networks, we can live in the cloud and collect that information directly. In a gateway processor, we could be in a warehouse in a small edge device or a small processor of some other kind that's intermittently connected to the internet by which we then pull all the data up for analysis later.
Give me a sense, from your perspective, what the potential market is here. And you can characterize that any way you like.
Well, there's a lot of estimates about how large this market is and how many devices will be connected over time. But I think the market will only be limited to the amount of productivity that can be gained. For example, in the retail industry where refrigerators and other appliances are sold to consumers, it's going to be very important for sensors to pick up the information about a device outage. You know, it's very expensive to send people to go and repair something that you don't really know what's wrong. And I think we've all experienced the repairman coming to our house and saying, well, it's this part, I don't have that one. Wouldn't it be great and wouldn't it be more productive and cost less for everyone if the machine told the servicing organization what part was not working right, and the serviceman can bring that part right directly to the house? That will result in a lot of productivity and lower costs for everyone. That's really one of the potentials, the greater potentials of Internet of Things.
You talked about time. Let's talk about location. What specifically can you do with location data and other wearable? I mean, the metrics in wearables are so different from what we've seen in the past.
Well, I'm really glad you asked that, because one of the key capabilities of Informix is to include geospatial information in the sensor data stream. And we can store it spatially and access it or index it spatially as well as by the meter itself. So we can tell and we can map very, very quickly and very efficiently using our time series capability any device's location. So you can find it via its spatial location or you can find it via its meter location. The important part of this is that you can compare this real time using our cloud technology with Informix. So if you have sensors in pipelines, for example, or railway sensors where you're sensing vibration and heat and its actual geographic location, you can make a real-time map of the sensor information coming from wherever it might be. It's very important to be able to include spatial information in the data stream from a sensor. Informix is unique in that it can store that along with that information, and it can store it in JSON format for NoSQL, and it can store it in RDBMS. And that capability is also in every one of our editions of our product.
So who are the early adopters?
Well, Hildebrand is one of the early adopters. They use both the geospatial and the standard time series reporting. In their footfall application, they are using cell phone location of people in shopping malls. Well, that's connected with the geospatial processors that they've created to show the patterns of people walking through malls.
So just to shift gears a little bit, I'd like to know what you're providing in terms of data security and specifically issues around encryption, privacy, and data ownership.
Well, it's good that you point that out. The Informix database and our other capabilities at IBM support full encryption of the data stream and of course storage on the database. We have very advanced capabilities in those areas.
I can see an age where I don't know what comes after trillion, quintillion, or quintillion numbers of devices out there. How in the world do you manage all those public and private keys?
Well, the interesting thing about collecting data from sensors is it's kind of a closed network from the perspective of the services that you're providing. So you can authenticate your user through various means that we're all kind of familiar with, whether it be through your cell phone and your fingerprint, or you're using iris detection. Anything that is used, say, from a smartphone, we can support that and store that. So the authentication capabilities are built into our database, just like any other product.
What change is going to have to occur for the Internet of Things to come of age?
I think in some cases it already has become a ubiquitous technology. It really exists everywhere. I mean, we're seeing people buy the Fitbits and they're using their smartphones, and now the up 3s and up 2s and technology like that. But I think people have come to expect now that every device and their car and things in their home are connected, and people are expecting these things to be useful to them in this context. And I think to some extent we've reached it. What we haven't reached yet is the actual control mechanisms to make them useful for everybody's everyday life. And I think that will be coming. And as we begin to connect our appliances and connect our car and connect our factory floors and connect our shipments and and make more sophisticated tracking, I think people will stop suddenly saying Internet of Things, and they'll just say, I need to talk to my washer, I need to talk to I need to talk to my furnace, and in that context.
So let's say that I'm running a startup and I just got my first big venture capital check, and I'm ready to get off of the little PC that I was running at Heroku or something. Where do I begin to, and I'm concerned about everything that you just mentioned, and more importantly, my investors are concerned. Where do I begin to investigate your products?
Well, I would start with IBM Bluemix. It's the perfect environment for developments and startup companies not wishing to spend a lot of money, but wishing to get right into the capability of storing sensor information in a cloud. And IBM provides that. You can go to Bluemix and you click on the time series icon and you'll get an instant Informix database that allows you to store that information. And it's very low cost and it's extremely simple to use.
Fantastic. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I think this is really great questions for Internet of Things. I think this is the perfect timing. I mean, there's been a little bit of startup action over the last couple of years where things have been trying to get organized. I think we're at the point now where we have pretty good protocol control, we have great data control, certainly with Informix time series and IBM Cloud. We now have the facilities to deliver these things worldwide, regardless of the types of sensors or the environment that you wish to collect this information from.
Well, I want to thank you very much for your time, and thank you for speaking with the Silent Intelligence.
Thank you for having us.